question to you is, if that's the solution for gun violence in the black community, what is the solution for black children that experience, once again, merciless acts of violence by white children? What is the solution for that? What is the solution for black people to prevent that from happening to them from the white community?
I don't know, but to be honest, I've changed my mind, man. I don't want to be a part of this. I'm sorry.
I.S.U.P.K.
Hey, Shalom, Lord in Christ. This Officer Rakab, I.S.U.P.K. Boston, and I'm interviewing
Jared Heron.
So, let me just bring you up. So I'm gonna just debrief you on a few things that's been happening, and then I'm gonna ask you a few questions. All right.
Okay.
So, there's been several acts of violence, right, where black children have been experiencing merciless acts of violence from white children. Okay. One is most recently in Plymouth County, right, where two white children tried to drown a black child while calling him George Floyd. You know what I mean? One child swam under the water, grabbed his legs, and tried to pull him down. The other child was on top, forcing his head underneath the water, right? Fully submerging him, and they called him George Floyd on top of that, right? Another incident occurred in Taunton, Massachusetts, where a little black child was choked out by white children with the jump rope, right? The nurse didn't even contact the mother or anything like that. You know what I mean? And so far, the mother has received no justice for this. The last one was
a couple years ago, young black girl was jumped by a bunch of kids and hung in a nearby forest.
Right.
They claim it's because of her sexual preference, but
yeah, and her name was Michaela. Okay, and the white children lynched Michaela in Massachusetts, and this is recent, right? So, with that being said, having that knowledge now, what has been the solution that has been being proposed in the black community, according to several black pastors in the Boston area that have been aligning themselves with politicians, is that, you know, we need to confiscate ghost guns off of the street from black children in order to prevent gun violence that has been plaguing the black community, right? So that solution has been imposed in our communities, right, for that problem. My question to you is, if that's the solution for gun violence in the black community, what is the solution for black children that experience, once again, merciless acts of violence by white children? What is the solution for that? What is the solution for black people to prevent that from happening to them from the white community?
I don't know, but to be honest, I've changed my mind, man. I don't want to be a part of this. I'm sorry.
Shalom, Lord in Christ, Officer Rakab, I.S.U.P.K. Boston under Commander General YAHANNA. We out here in South Bay in Boston. I'm here with
Jason
and
Suyach.
all right. I don't know if that's y'all lady or none, so I don't want to disrespect none of y'all. Okay. Now, so basically, I'm gonna debrief you real quick, right? So, few things have been happening in Massachusetts in the recent years, right? Where black children have been being lynched by little white children. Okay. One most recently in Plymouth County, where this is not a lynching, but nigh on to it. Okay. Two little white children in Chatham, Mass, tried to drown a little black child. Okay. One of them went under the water, pulled his feet under the water. The other one fully submerged his head under the water from the top. And they, you know, they would call him George Floyd. Okay. So it's definitely racially motivated. And the child is actually facing attempted murder charges.
Okay.
Right. So this is, I'm not even sure. He's in his, 14. So 14.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this is a very serious thing.
Yep.
Okay. And Michaela Miller was hung by little white children in Massachusetts. Okay. Another one in Taunton, Massachusetts, little white children tried to hang a little black child with jump rope on the playground in elementary school. Okay. So with that being said, right, hold on to that, and I'm gonna bring you here. Gun violence has been plaguing the black community in Boston, right? Okay. It has been proposed by Michael Day to get a bill passed, rather, HD 4420, which would put, all kind of restrictions on ghost guns and, criminalize them, even more than what they are. All right. So black children will receive stricter sentences for being in possession of ghost guns, right?
Ghost guns as in the 3D printed guns, or just...
Yeah, like polymer 80s, all of that, right? Yeah. So that's been proposed as a solution to gun violence in the black community by Michael Day, right? Now, what I want to know is, what is the solution for little black children that receive, merciless acts of violence from white children, right? What is the law or the bill that is being pushed to be passed to, save black children from white children that want to lynch them, that want to drown them and call them George Floyd while they're doing it in the process?
Okay.
What do you think the solution for that is?
Legislation wise, I'm not sure, but I think it all starts with education, man. Like, I feel like in a school, there has to be more conversations about white kids being introduced with black kids and how to interact with them. And I don't know if there's specific legislation that could be passed, but just, I think education is the answer. That's what I would say, man.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the story you said was very serious situation, and there's nothing that there's no one way to go about the problem. I'm sure I'm not familiar with who Michael Day is, but when we leave issues to politicians, obviously there's different motives towards what's going on. So we have to first clarify what our motives are, and in terms of action, it's up to us as people to be able to identify who's acting in our best interests. And when we're electing politicians, we want to make sure that we elect people who align with our interests. And obviously, there are politicians who don't align with our interests. But the first thing that needs to be done is that there has to be open communication with all communities, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Indian, Asian, whatever you are. You have to be able to communicate with each other. And whatever the different culture is, we as people can find a solution to whatever's going on. So I hear your story, and I'm sure there's a better solution to whatever problem's going on.
Excellent answers. Excellent answers. Now, I have two more bonus questions. Now, these are really short, though. And if, you all could answer this. You are all familiar with gun violence that happens in Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan, Rosendale, Jamaica Plain, so on and so forth, correct?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with it, but I heard that it's a problem, yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been... I haven't researched much into it, and I haven't necessarily observed much of it, but I've definitely heard news stories. Absolutely. Definitely.
Is this any of your guys' woman?
No.
Okay, do you mind if I ask you?
Sure. I'm actually not from the Massachusetts area, so I also haven't heard of anything.
Oh, okay.
But
All right, no sweat. So now, before you came to Massachusetts, did anybody tell you, be careful when you come to Dorchester, Roxbury, Mattapan? Honestly, in all honesty,
no, actually, nobody.
Okay,
has-
no sweat. Now, this is my last question. Were any of you familiar with any of the stories I mentioned about black children experiencing acts of violence from little white children?
Nope.
Okay, that's all I had to ask. I appreciate y'all time. Thank you, man. Stay up.
What's your channel, man?
Oh, I.S.U.P.K. Boston.
I.S.U.P.K. Boston?
I.S.U.P.K. Boston.
I.S.U.P.K.
Yes, sir.
Got it. All right, man.
Thank you.
Shalom, Priest and Officer Ricard, y'all hitting you up out of the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge out of Boston, and I am here with
Joy Riley.
Hello, Joy Riley. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Do you believe racism and hatred is taught to children?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know about the situation that happened in Chatham, Mass, where a young black boy was jumped by two young white kids, and he was almost drowned?
No, I did not know about that.
Yes. Well, let me give you a story. Two white kids try to drown a black boy. They beat him up, then dragged him to a lake and try to drown him. And while they were drowning him, they were calling him George Floyd, the N word, and everything else. Do you think that hatred was learned, or were they just watching George Floyd and just gained the hatred for it on their own?
I think it is a learned behavior. I think we have to remember that we are in America, and America is built on racism. So whether it's intentional or whether they are seeing it on TV, it's something that it has to be corrected. So even if it's if it's not taught, maybe their parents didn't directly teach them that racism is bad, or they're watching the news and they're seeing other other white people, other Caucasian people, how they are acting, and they're choosing a side. So I think it's a big educational thing and a big a discussion that needs to be talked about at home as well and in other places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you think they ever will stop passing down their lessons of hatred towards Black, Hispanic, and Native people? Do you think they'll ever stop doing that?
I don't think so. I don't think that it's something that can just be like eradicated. You know what I mean? Like completely abolished. Like I don't think that that is possible. I do think that there should be multiple like avenues, in schools. You think of Plymouth Math, they're probably not talking about these issues in school. They're probably not having, you know what I mean? Those in-depth conversations that they need to have. If they're not having them at home, they need to be happening in other places. And I think that it's a big failure that they're not. There is nowhere else for them, unless they're doing the research on their own, which I doubt that they're doing. But yeah.
Okay. In light of understanding that situation happened, and then not too long ago we had that sister that was hung. That was actually not too far from that city too.
Mm-hmm.
And this brother was just telling me about another young girl that was hung in her classroom. Had a rope mark around her neck and everything. All this happened in Massachusetts. Now, do you believe that our safest course? I'm going to give you three options. I'm going to have you choose. What would be our safest course as a people? To fight their hatred with love, or to hate them just as much as they hate us and do the things they do to us, or just to completely separate and have nothing to do with them or their way of life?
That's a tough one. I think that there are like different situations that call for different reactions. When we look back at our Black leaders, they all had different approaches to the situation. Malcolm X wanted to separate, towards the end of his life. Martin Luther King agreed. He was like, I think we should have our own shit. Like, trying to live together and kumbaya and all the other stuff. It's cool, I guess, but it's like, again, when you think of like what America is about and what it was built on, it's like it's not for us at the same time. It's really, it would be better if we could find our own way. And I don't think it's, fighting hate with hate is the answer. Black people have always been kind of like above it in a way. We've always been like, try to turn the other cheek and, try. So that's a tough one for me. I think I have no idea.
You're absolutely right. We are completely more compassionate and humane people than they are.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. Well, thank you for giving me your time. Tell them your name again and give any shout outs or socials.
Joy Riley, social media, Instagram, Miss Riley. That's it. Shout out to, all my geeks.
Stereotype. He's freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, he's from the tribe of Judah, man. He got the floss, all right?
All right.
All right. Shalom, Lord of Christ, Officer of I.S.U.P.K, Boston. I'm here with
Karen.
Oh my God. So
He's so.
now, question, right? Or rather, let me help you out real quick. So, are you familiar with gun violence that happens in the Black community in Boston?
I am.
Okay. Now, are you familiar with violence that little Black children experience from little white children in Massachusetts?
I am.
You are. Tell me more.
Well, I think. Well, let me retract that for a minute.
Okay.
It's it's not on the news, it's not publicized as much because they want the black on black violence.
That's right.
So they can continue to stereotype.
Exactly.
Okay, but there is white on black, there's Puerto Rican, there's Latino, Latina, there's all kinds of violence against whites, blacks, every culture. They shouldn't just be known just to one being in the black community because it puts a bad name for the black community.
Right. Okay. Now that's excellent that you said that. Right. So seems like you have a little bit of know-how when it comes to things like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'll just give you 3 incidents that happened in the most recent years where black children have experienced acts of cruelty, severe cruelty by the hands of little white children in school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One, a sister was when I say a sister, I mean a little black,
Yeah, I get it.
a black child was lynched by her name was Michaela. She was lynched by a mob of white children.
Disgusting.
Okay. Secondly, most recently, in Plymouth County, there was a little black child that was nearly drowned to death by 2 little white children. Okay, and he's currently facing attempted murder charges. Attempted murder charges. He didn't kill him, but yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the act of violence.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm glad you're saying this. And lastly, in Taunton, Massachusetts, a little black girl was nearly lynched by, once again, a mob of little white children with jump rope on the playground. Okay?
You have to ask yourself, how are these children being brought up? In what environment are these children being brought up? What are they being taught about cultures? Why are they being taught about the color of someone's skin and why that should really matter? That's the problem lies at home with the parenting of these children. Okay? You and your parents, see, I have Spanish children. Okay, I have black nephews. Okay? We don't see color. We don't know about color. The problem with that is, yes, they're being taught about color and they're being taught ignorance at home.
So would you say that they're being taught hate?
Absolutely.
And who are they being taught to hate?
They're being taught to hate different cultures that aren't.
No, let's focus on what we're talking about.
On the black, see, on the black
That's
culture.
Right. They're being taught to hate black people.
Absolutely.
So when one of these little white children goes out, right, and they try to lynch a black child because they have been taught hate against black people, right? Or they try to drown a black child and they call him George Floyd while they're trying to drown him, right?
What?
Yeah, that's what they did in Plymouth County. Okay. Now, but they're doing this like because you said because of what they were taught. They were taught to hate a certain ethnic group, and that ethnic group is black people.
It's pure ignorance.
Right? Exactly. And it's definitely pure ignorance. And you said that attempted murder charge should be greater than that. Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you in saying that, right? You know what else they should add to it?
What?
A hate crime. It should be a hate crime. Yeah, definitely. That should be a hate crime because if somebody attacked Asian people, wouldn't it be Stop Asian Hate?
Yeah, we have it all.
If somebody attacked an Asian person, wouldn't they be charged with a hate crime?
Absolutely.
Somebody attacked a Jewish person.
Because it's a black individual, it's a different story. That's not right.
Exactly.
Right.
So anybody who attacks black people and it's proven to be racially motivated, you saying that it should be considered a hate crime, right? Right? That's what you're saying?
I'm sorry, what?
Target's asset protection department, you guys aren't allowed to record and interview people in the store.
We're not.
Shalom, YAHANNA, Yahweh Barakatah. This is Officer Ricard. Y'all hit you up out of Boston. I'm here with
Nicole.
How you doing, Nicole?
I'm good.
Do you believe that children are taught to be racist?
Interesting question. So I'm a teacher. I work at a school. And I think, so on the nature versus nurture kind of issue, I feel like there's a little bit of both that goes into play. Because, like, of course, there's things that they're going to learn without necessarily being taught. and then there's some other things that they are going to be taught. So my answer is that it depends on the kid, and in a lot of scenarios, yes, but in also a lot of scenarios, no.
Okay. And have you read or heard of that story in Chatham, Mass, aka Plymouth County, of two Caucasian boys decided to jump on a black kid, drag him to a lake, and try to drown him. While they were drowning him, they were calling him George Floyd, well, you can't breathe, N-word, so forth and so on. Do you think they was taught that hatred from their parents?
Absolutely. Even if their parents didn't mean to teach them that, it had to come from somewhere.
Absolutely correct. Now, with that in mind, would you think it'd be a better defense for us to teach our children to three options: to hate like them, or to love them, or to completely separate ourselves from them? Which is the safer option?
The safest option? I mean, you should learn to retaliate. You should learn to stand up for yourself, especially in those kind of situations. But I don't think that necessarily means that they should be hating back. So, separate, retaliate.
You brought up an interesting point. Retaliation is not exactly hatred because you're defending yourself. It's self-defense, right? So we should definitely teach our children that.
Yeah, at the very least, for sure.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Do you want to give a shout out or any socials you want out there?
No, but thank you.
My whole life was trying to find something to follow. Had loyalty, every man tried to borrow. Felt pain and a lot of sorrow. Got betrayed, so packs I didn't even have my heart broke. Living confused, about to lose hope. Cops got me on the side of the road like a sideshow. Need an antidote before I croak. Now I'm setting fire to rhythm man blues, call this guitar smoke. Rebel with no cause, trying to find direction. The world got me vexed. Picked up a bad liquor habit that's hereditary from oppression. Felt like my life was on fire, trying to find an exit. Now look, 10 G's plus a good wreck. Sometimes a follower is a soldier, trying to find a good shepherd. Plus when you in hell, how do you excel? Wisdom the breath of life, I don't believe in fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain. Something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord? Got a tongue like a two-edged sword.